Hey everybody, I've been talking for the last 2 minutes and there was nobody in the room because I didn't press the button. I was thinking it's very quiet in the chat today, isn't it, Maurizio?
It
Maybe
is, man.
maybe
We're talking and
everybody's as
talking.
fed up of the market as we. No, 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 it's
Oh
all good.
man.
As soon as that word tariff comes out of someone's mouth, everything
I'm
takes a shit.
and yeah, we're gonna go through a bunch of stuff. Obviously, yeah, to be honest, there's nothing much, unless you want to do a scalping, things like that. But there's a bunch of things that happen throughout the week that I don't think is going to be very positive for the markets. But we'll go through what I'm seeing at the moment and all that sort of stuff. But then yeah, man, like fucking Trump, man. It's good and bad. It's lovely if you do scalps,
Mm,
mate. If because I throughout the calls, I have gave you like really good setups that you can actually do, and I wish but I'm not like following 24/7 because you need to basically be on watch pretty much 24/7, right? Because you don't know when those setups are going to happen. We're going to go with the
mm,
same setup that happened over the weekend, man. And fucking oh, and that setup is so freaking wonderful to trade, and but it's not the aim of this. So obviously, we want to get positioned
mm,
towards the bull run and things like that. Obviously,
mm,
that's a
mm, mm,
different trading strategy. But yeah,
mm.
so let's wait a
Yeah,
little bit
interesting, man,
until
because
yeah,
we've dumped right at the bottom of the trading range again. So if I'm thinking about trades now, I'm thinking to myself, well, is there a trading range trade that's available to me? But then I got to see what's happening underneath Bitcoin with the order flow from the open interest. Because if you were to say, how do you just feel about that trade, Ian? I would say I'm probably 55-45 that it can come off, you know?
yep. I was really tempted on Friday, to be honest, to go in on Ethereum. Very, very tempted. It looked good,
Mm,
but we'll talk about what happened with the Japan interest rate, and I think that's basically is going to affect the markets quite a little bit
okay.
this week. So I think that's what's driving stuff. On top of that, you get fucking Trump uh now open his mouth again with tariffs to Canada and shit. So you know what I mean?
Mm,
Like a lot of different things that let's see how New York opens today.
mm,
But
mm.
it doesn't look very appealing to be honest. Like from the investor side of things, um still is this fear, but it's not massive fear. So you know what I mean? And the
Mm.
big opportunities is when everything goes really to shit. And let's analyze different options and things that I'm looking
Okay.
at, right? To actually get positioned heavily if those things happen. But I don't think that's going to be in the next week. Well, we could be, you know what I mean? Like, but yeah,
I'm with you.
I
I'm with you.
should not say that.
Let's
I
have a look at
think,
the CME gaps as well. I know that's something that
yep,
Todd's hot on as well.
yep,
Fucking
yep,
Liam, wake up. Money makers will have to hit them. Yeah, nice. All right. I don't have any silly questions this morning. I think let's just have a look at the market, maybe take some coin requests
yep.
because there seems to be a lot of. Well, I'll shut up and enjoy. Over to you,
Yeah.
Maurizio.
Yeah, I think Warren. I think you are on the money. I'm looking at that same thing, man. Commodities, especially. Obviously, that's not part of this game, but I'm doing copper and uranium. That could be something quite interesting. In terms of what the whole global economy is looking for. Obviously, maybe it will 2x in the next year or so. Obviously, that's a different game from crypto, but that's not a bad idea. I'm looking at the same thing. Anyway, so let's get cracking. So first of all, how do you how do you guys feel about crypto today? Let me I just want to hear your thoughts because it's not a good look what we like what is happening at the moment. Down. All right, so how I feel down.
It will get bigger all the time, Jim. That's what I tell the girls as well. 3.0
Yeah,
Venezuela. Nice, nice.
yeah. Like I think commodities right now they're hot, especially after what happened with gold and silver. So a lot of people are actually transitioning into copper, uranium. Um, so you know, that's something that like obviously it's not going to give you a huge reward, but it's actually stable in a way, right? And I think copper could do really well. It could actually do the same thing as
Mm.
silver and gold. Uh, so I'm looking at that closely, like on my own portfolio, just so you
So
know.
Maurizio, this is a random, well, it's not random, right?
Mhm.
I'm thinking about money flow, right? There used to be,
Yeah.
the old, oh, it's Bitcoin, then ETH, then the altcoins, and well, all the money seems to be in gold and silver and copper at the moment. So is it really
hmm
that we're looking at them to not want to invest in that anymore, to then start looking at things like altcoins? Or is that an assumption that's just
Uh,
too far too
no,
wild?
I think that's a very good question, and I've been asking myself the same question. Okay, and I think that has to do a lot with what we're going to talk about today, and it's about risk assets. All right, let's talk about risk assets. So whenever you talk about risk assets, is when you have the money supply coming in, liquidity coming in, market looks good, Nasdaq looks good, everything looks good. That's when people tend to actually go into risk assets, and crypto is a risk asset. Obviously, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana perhaps could be the less risky out of everything, and then you jump into alts. Alts is a really risky stuff, right? So whenever something goes to shit, right, or market economy, tariffs, uncertainty, usually, money tends to go out of risk assets and go into safe assets, give or take, right? And silver, gold, they always been safe assets, always, right? Now, if you add that silver, the success of silver is because the supply of silver is quite low, the demand is, so it has hit several sort of factors that make silver grow. So that's why I think that copper could do the same thing. So copper, it takes uh, to a friend of mine did a good research. I think I'll share it with you guys this week. Copper, in order to actually open a copper mine, right, it takes probably about 5 to 6, 7 years. And the demand for copper right now, in terms of electronics, right, solar panels, electric vehicles, AI, data centers, any electronics in the world will use copper. So the demand uh, will rise and the offer will decrease. Therefore, the price will increase over time, right? Could get volatile? Yes. So that's why I think, all this stuff. Uranium is the same sort of thing in terms of energy, right? So those assets now become a little bit more safe than crypto in a way, right? Because if you own copper, or in a way, right? Obviously, you don't tend to be safe. Like copper is not gonna go away in a way, right? The price will fluctuate, but copper is not going away, man. Silver is not going away. Gold is not going away. So that's kind of what I mean in terms of safe assets. So let's just start with what happened on Friday. So obviously on Friday, uh, we have the yen, the Japanese yen, right? They decided to, you know, you can, I'll post this through in the chat and you can actually read it. So, but at the end of the day, I don't know if you guys remember, like a year back, the carry trade, what happens with the yen and the US dollars. And then what happens is when the yen, starts sort of gaining too much appreciation and value, then there's a lot of sell-offs. There is a lot of things that happen in the US dollar, right? And what we can see because of the decision of the interest rates, right? That basically affects the whole market. That's a big thing that, like, if you don't have a stable yen and US pair, then anything comes uncertainty, they start unwinding positions, they start unwinding the carry trades that, is a very, very well known trade between interests rate. You can actually read more on it. But let me just show you. So there you go. So that's the Japanese yen that happened on Friday. So huge unwind, right? So essentially, um, if this has continuation, what that means is the yen is going to appreciate in value against the US dollar. Okay. What that means is a lot of funds, a lot of stuff, or funds that are running this carry trade and stuff like that are going to sell, and it's going to create a lot of pressure or on risk assets. Okay. So this is probably why, right, crypto came down over the weekend, right? Basically, because there's no appetite for it, right? It's no appetite for risk asset yet based on this. So it's a lot of different factors that are happening globally, right? So if uh, if governments do not step in and actually start holding this value, then we can see a lot of the risking on the S&P 500. That's going to translate into crypto. That's going to translate into risk assets. So more than likely, oh shit, I'm not sharing the screen. Sorry. See, been talking about for a while. Thanks, mate.
I am sorry, Maurizio.
That's all good, man. All right, going back. Yes. So I did share this. Yes, I did share this. You can go and read this, right? This happened on Friday. What I was talking about is the USD against the Japanese yen, right? So huge drop on Friday, right? A massive unwind, and now we had a massive gap, right? And this is actually a lot of selling over the weekend, right? This basically is a lot of selling. So when this happened, right, usually the first thing that goes are risk assets. Unfortunately, Bitcoin, crypto, everything is related to risk assets. So until we don't see any stability around here, I don't think crypto will rise. You know, like the money will not flow towards crypto, right? As a it might flow in. You know, I think it could stronger gold to silver or other assets. But this is the first thing that I think why we had another drop on crypto, right? Besides the technicals, right? So let's see what happens, right? Obviously, Asia is just gonna open. Australia is closed. Basically, today's holidays here in Australia. So we'll see how Nasdaq will open today, right? And if we have a look at the S&P 500, right, still holding in a way, but the first indication that I think I will might see a little bit of an unwind is the Russell 2000. Do you guys know what the Russell 2000 is? We all know what the S&P 500 is, right? But
The
do you know what
Russell.
the Russell the
No,
Russell
mate.
no? All
No.
right. The Russell is basically the same thing as the S&P 500, but for small caps, small companies, risk assets in the stock market. You know what I mean? Like think about it from that perspective. So it's just a small caps on it's an index, right? So S&P 500 is the biggest 500 companies market cap. The Russell 2000 is a small caps index. So when you see a massive sell-off on this, that means a lot of risk assets are being sold. And this is the first thing that we need to be aware of, right? Why people are unwinding the risk assets, right? So I'm looking at that happened on Friday. Let's see, obviously, how the Russell is going to open. But if the Russell keeps sort of winding down, I would expect that Bitcoin will follow the same lead. And to be honest, okay, so obviously that's something to be really mindful in a way, right? Like that. This is basically to say is again the same freaking question that we ask ourselves every freaking Monday. Is this buy the dip opportunity or we hold off for a bigger dip? Right at the end of the day, right? So that's kind of what I'm saying that this could, you know what I mean? This could actually open in the negative, and if it has continuation, then obviously that will translate into every single freaking risk asset in the world, right? So obviously, unfortunately, that's what happened. And on top of that, we got the fucking Trump, right, hitting with this. Obviously, this could be bullshit. This could be not. But then obviously, this definitely affects markets, right? This definitely is going to affect markets. To impose 100% tariffs on Canada, that's fucking ridiculous, man. So anyway, what's gonna happen? Probably they're gonna wind it down this week, and then on top of that, we do have a lot of stuff this week in terms of news and things like that. So that's why I think this week it could be a little bit volatile, right? So there's no directionality. There's a lot of risk that could be unwind. So where's that head us? Bitcoin. All right. So let's start with the weekly. So what a horrible week. What did we say last week that was the likely happening? Did you guys remember? Or not really?
Just wait for see if a little bit of comments come in. I can't remember if we did specific percentages on it, to be honest, but I thought that we left it as we needed to see a retest of that 93,500, and that would give us some directionality as where we finish the week to that.
Yeah.
Because
So
that's the yearly close, isn't it? Or the yearly open,
correct.
93,500.
Correct. So these
Yeah.
levels here, and then last week, massive sort of pullback. And then we mentioned that that was a possibility of people front running this short. And that's kind of what happened, man. And where we are at the moment. So now this week we started breaking a structure. This little structure here, the possibility of this bullishness coming through. I think there's a highly likelihood that we're going to start a retest even towards the 80,000 level. So I'm leaning more towards a dump, right? And that a bullish could be wrong. Markets could come back, but there's a few things that I want to watch in terms of if markets come back. So the first thing is we already had a look at the USD yen. So if we start seeing that the yen starts breaking this structure, man, fuck, man, I'm gonna short Bitcoin, because Bitcoin could actually start crash. Yeah, you know what I mean? That it could definitely. This is the first thing that people
Say
will.
that again, Maurizio. When the bit before Bitcoin could crash.
So this is the Japanese yen, right? So if
Hmm.
this has continuation towards downside, right, what that
Hmm.
means is the yen will basically increase in value. Therefore, a lot of people will start unwinding their carry trades, and
Hmm.
also they're going to start unwinding or taking profit on risk assets, right?
Uh-huh.
And risk assets. So another measure will be that Russell 2000. So if the Russell 2000 goes the same way and start going down, more than likely Bitcoin will follow, right? So Bitcoin will start sort of dropping, right? As well. So that could be one of the things that I'll be paying close attention to what happened on the after the New Year session. I don't think I'll be trading a New Year session. It will be too volatile. Could do up downs, up down. Let's see what at the end of the day it says. We could bounce back if so. That's kind of my two setups, right? So if US yen, right? Let's place it here. Keeps on winding down, and Russell 2000 starts winding down, right? More than likely, Bitcoin will start winding down towards which level? I think there's a highly likelihood that we're going to hit the 80,000 level.
Well,
Now,
that's
if we
great. I mean, FinRev is longer, so bring it
yeah,
on.
actually, FinRev is actually most shorts at the moment, which makes
Yeah.
sense, right? So obviously,
It's
uh,
just got that huge, or at least it's got a huge position in gold, and then everything else is just short.
mhm. Yeah, because gold is the only thing that is actually holding, like, and obviously it's actually a pretty good, trade at the moment. So,
Mhm.
but then at some point, there's gonna be profit taking. You know what I mean? At some point, that it will generate a pullback. Okay, so that's why I'm not keen to trade anything, to be honest. Unless you do a scalping, I'm keen to do a scalping, but not like long-term positioning. So in terms of long-term positioning, right? Let's assume that this could be the first one, which I did talk about on Friday. You know, that could be the first sort of indication that things are going to bounce, or we're going to have that one here. So those are the two levels that I'll be watching to see if we do have CVD coming through all these levels. If we don't, then I might just wait for a jump and short it, you know what I mean? Towards this level, which is still is in the cards, 74,000. Okay, so that's the latest. That's kind of the line in the sand for crypto. And then the next level, if that one fails, definitely I can definitely see the 50,000 level coming through. It's a huge gap here. See, there's not a lot of liquidity. So if yeah, that can happen, right? So I need to be like if you turn this, how do you see now? I just inverted the scale, right, on Bitcoin. Now, do you see what I'm talking about here? The possibility of reaching that 74, 70, 74, that's a possibility, right? And if that breaks, right, it's a huge possibility that we can actually get all the way up to 52, all the way down to, sorry, just inverted. So, yeah. So at this stage, I'm going to be playing it level by level. Obviously, just want to be mindful that those are the possibilities, right? So I think it's a great time for shorting, to be honest.
I was just going to say, so
Yeah.
what type of traders are sat at their desk today, loving life, thinking, yeah, this is my game right now.
The problem with shorting, guys, is that at any moment liquidity will come back, and then so shorting is a different game of going long, right? Because you do like it's like going long and you have resistance. With shorting, you're going short and you have support, and a lot of possibilities that the market will come back. So a lot of people waiting on these levels to buy.
Hmm.
So if you play the shorting game, probably you need to play level by level, take some profits, things like that. So that's more time on the screens. You know what I mean? Like definitely. But yeah, Todd, exactly. That's the event, the massive event that's coming this week, the FOMC. So that's going to dictate a lot of the different things. We know that also there is a lot of speculation about you know, the Fed, the head of the Fed, who is it going to be, all that sort of stuff. So it's a lot of uncertainty, right? So from that perspective, I wouldn't trade any leverage at the moment, right? Unless you do some small like scalps. Um, would I buy a little bit more Bitcoin if I drops here? Yes, yes, yes. But spot, right? Overall, I'm still bullish on Bitcoin, right? And let's have a look from the weekly perspective. And from the weekly, you can start seeing that a lot of strength is being lost right here when we lost this structure here. And let me just make this bigger. Okay, so yeah, essentially that's it, man. Like I don't see any strain whatsoever, especially with the yen, with the carry trade, with the FOMC, a lot of things happening this week. Hard for me to say if I'm really bullish, right? And like we're not in a massive panic yet. You know what I mean? Like markets don't look good, but they don't look horrible. And when they look horrible, is the time to buy. When let's say if Bitcoin gets to 52, I'll be buying definitely. You know what I mean? Like that's a lot of people will you know what I mean? Like will be like, oh fuck, selling, capitulating, and but we're not at that point yet. Like market doesn't look good. Obviously, we're gonna stop down on a few trades here and there, but it's not horrible. Like it's not panic yet, right? So yeah, Todd, I'll do that then, man. Dr. Tiana, that's a very good question. Um, Not yet. I don't think we are in the bear market yet, and but this depends on in which time frame you talk about. right? So if you think about, are we in the bear market from the weekly perspective? Not yet. We're approaching. Are we in the bear market from the daily perspective? I think we're just starting. So to have this. So from the daily, let's analyze what happened from the daily perspective. So from the daily, we had this bullish run, bam, 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 and then we broke structure around here. That was on the 16th of November, give or take. Now we're sort of retesting and we're ranging at the moment. If we do have, that's why I wanted to sort of be very aware what happened around 100,000 level. Apparently, market never reached there because we could start going breaking this 74,000 level. When we start breaking this level 74,000, then we sort of enter into a sort of bearish structure. But then be mindful that if we break this, we're going to have a bounce and then we're going to come back down. You know what I mean? So that could lead us all the way down to 52, unfortunately. So not a bad idea to start shorting as a hedge if we have the portfolio. Like if you're too big on the portfolio, we're mainly on cash. We're probably 80% on cash in the big portfolio for the 100x. I'm still holding a lot of trades because I don't feel that the market is there yet. So yeah, another one to watch for is the where are you? The VIX. It is one. VIX. You guys know what the VIX is?
Man, I do, but I don't. I can't say it. I don't tell me it's the. No, I'm bluffing.
Yeah, yeah, I said Robert. There you go, Marlon. Volatility index. Do you understand the implication between the VIX and the S&P 500? No, no. All right. So this is another thing that I'll be looking at very closely. The VIX is the volatility of the S&P 500, give or take, right? So when the volatility starts going up, there is a high likelihood that the S&P 500 will have a drop, right? So you can correlate every single, spike on the VIX correlates with a dip on the S&P 500, okay? So when if the S&P 500 starts racing, like, and we don't know until the S&P 500 fully opens today in New York, but if you start seeing an increase in volatility, then there's a few things that are going to follow. If the S&P 500 start to drop, I'll guarantee that the Russell will keep dropping, and then more than likely that will translate into Bitcoin. So I'm short biased at the moment, and I hope I'm wrong, to be honest. But looking at all those things, still sort of gathering, my thesis around, um, is this buying the dip? And I struggle to get a really good thesis and say, yeah, this is the level that Bitcoin needs to hold, because everything looks pretty bad. Like, let's have a look. Bitcoin, we broke this little structure here, right? First time from the daily, and this is weekend liquidity anyway. So I just want to see what happened in the next couple of days. Ethereum, right? Ethereum over the weekend as well, we drop 2,800. So if Ethereum starts dropping, right, then the next significant level to hold will be this one here, 2,100, right? And that could be the 2,100 for Ethereum, it could be like a massive drop. You know what I mean? That's painful. But the next one over is the 1,300, right? If we start seeing horrible things coming through, right? I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm not saying that I'm going to, but we need to take it level by level. If we hold this level here and on across the majors, like Bitcoin, we hold that level here. How do we know we're holding? Good question. How do we know we're holding? So we back to structure here, give or take, and we go into CVD and we start seeing buying at these levels. That's how we know these levels are going to hold. If I'm not seeing CVD levels coming through, hard for me to put a case to say, yeah, I'm going to go long here fully, So um, that's kind of what I'm seeing, right? Putting my thesis together in terms of like, you know, if I have to buy $1 million, will I buy $1 million right now of Bitcoin? Will you have? You know what I mean? Like that's kind of what I'm aiming towards. And if my answer is yes, then I'm bullish, but I'm not seeing that yet. I'm seeing a lot of different shit, and we could get a lot of volatility. So let's jump into the open interest and show you what I'm seeing here. All right. So, okay, this is the freaking trade that setup, guys. That I if you're able to be at your screens on 30-minute time frame and start tracking this is a setup that it works, man. It works. This actually happened the 24th. What was the 24th? That was on Saturday, unfortunately. Yeah, for me. And yeah, this is the setup that I always talk about to short, right? And first, you see a range of Bitcoin. Second, you see open interest is increasing and market starts moving down. And third, which is your definite trade, is not buying power here. So people unwinding their spot positions. That's a massive short term short trade for sure, man. Like, there's a high percentage on this type of trades, man. And that happened over the weekend, man. Unfortunately, I missed it, right? But this is gonna keep happening again, 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 again. So sometimes it's easier to spot these short trades that the long ones, because it's easier. Like if you think about it in the perspective of psychology, right? From the psychology perspective, is when things are going wrong, the easiest way for people is to sell. It's not to buy or anything like that, and you actually see that behavior there. So markets basically just accelerate the selling. Now where we at? So any questions on that setup, man? If man, I wish I could automate this freaking setup, to be honest, because it's really good. It's a really good setup. But happens in Bitcoin, happens on Ethereum, and happens on the majors, right? So on alts, it's not that effective because obviously there is much more volatility in terms of a lot of people that trade alts, they do futures, right? So obviously the spot volume is not that effective per se, right? So yeah, that trade wouldn't be, stop loss probably around here. I'll give you 2-3 from that perspective, man, over the weekend. Anyway, it's more setups come. So yeah, Todd, man, take a screenshot of this, man. And I mentioned it several times, man, several times. And I just took one this month, to be honest, and that's it. But it happened like 3 times. No. And last year, in December, last year in December happened like 4 times. Like happened every single fucking week, man. So obviously this is not a setup that is going to duplicate your money, but if you understand how to short, if you understand how to place a stop loss, if you don't understand how to size correctly, it can give you 1 to 2 risk reward easy on those trades. So yeah. Anyway, that's it, man. That's it for me, man. Like I don't have anything else. Good news. Obviously we start seeing more liquidations coming, like more long liquidations here at this level, at 86,000 level. Yep. Yeah, 86. And we start seeing a little bit of CVD coming through here, but is this going to be sustainable? I will say that I will want to wait until I see CVD recover. Probably recover a little bit more like that, and then price goes a little bit more stable, and then I'll see a little bit more evidence. Obviously, I will miss the bottom, definitely, but I will just gather momentum instead of actually getting anything else. And that's it for me. Todd, Head and Shoulders on the weekly total chart. Let's have a look. Total, total three or total or only total? Total three minus USDT and USDC, or let's have a look.
You had that, yeah, you had that ratio one, didn't you? Which was something divided by something minus something, wasn't it?
Just total. Okay, let's have a look. So the total on the weekly mentioned Head and Shoulders. Yeah, there you go. Okay. The only thing that I don't like about the total, as per se, is it has Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana, all the majors in here, right? I will. That's why I have others. So others, if you let's have a look at how others look. Others is a reflection of the alt market because obviously it doesn't have into account the 10 bigger market cap coins, so that's basically what they do. And total three, I take USDT and USDC, but it's the same thing, man. There you go. Yeah, Head and Shoulders in a way. So we could have a little bit of a drop. So yeah, I wouldn't get positioned per se. I wouldn't rush. You know what I mean? I would definitely, let's see how this week unwinds, and hopefully, Trump backs up and say, yeah, whatever. I don't want to put 100% tariffs and shit like that. And then let's see what happens after the FOMC. And now we're going to get position. So yeah, unfortunately, it is what we seeing at the moment. In terms of alts, is hype is hype. Um, um, I'm very interested in buying hype at these levels. Uh, can this go lower? Yes, but I'm interested in perhaps getting a little bit spot, right? And the reason why is I'm seeing a lot of. Let me show you. Where is this? Where are they? No, not that one. If we go to Hyperliquid, let me show you where you can find the stats because they look pretty amazing, man. They look pretty good for me. That's not hype, it's Hyperliquid. All right, so if you go to Hyperliquid, you go stats, right? And let's go to HIP 3, which is the layer, right? Now, this is quite interesting to see that come on, daily volume, right? The daily volume keeps increasing, and open interest, that means a lot of people trading on daily open interest, right? There's a lot of people trading long or short. I don't care what the market movements will be. The only thing that is telling you is a lot of people trading here, right? So I'm talking about the in January, right? Open interests have increased dramatically on here. That means that's good for hype. That means they're making money. That means they're paying fees, right? Every time that you trade, you pay fees, right? You pay, you do the funding rate, all that sort of stuff. So this is how high it becomes more attractive proposition in terms of holding the hype token. Okay, so this is something that I it came to my attention this and the price is actually pretty good, right? Like so I hardly so that's why I'm thinking of buying a little bit spot. Why spot? Because it will be really tough to uh know if this level is going to hold. If we do have a dump on Bitcoin, more than likely we're going to go probably down towards 16 level, which I'll buy more spot. But then from that perspective, I'm still liking iPad, still liking it from that perspective. Okay, so this is the only thing that I'm watching very closely to just start buying. You know what I mean? And using hype, but bear in mind that we can go a little bit lower, right? If market decides to take a dump this week. So, man, I think that's it, guys. That's the only thing that I have in terms of. I'll be watching everything. Uh, but then yeah, everything looks pretty weak at the moment. So I wouldn't go rush and start buying holding long term. I'm just if you do scalps, maybe this week in the next couple of days you can actually have a bounce. We can actually have a bounce. But besides that, I wouldn't do much. That's it. That's it for me, guys. I don't know if you guys have any questions or anything like that, but it's yeah, it's yeah, struggle to start buying crazy these times.
Yeah, that's awesome stuff, man.
What do I think about Tao? Let's have a look. Tao, Tao, where are you?
Tau, tau, tau.
I don't have Tao here.
I thought
Why not?
Tau was one of those ones that was going to really knock it out of the park at one point, but then it just sort of,
Yeah,
like a lot of things.
fucking Tao. Look at this shit. Let's have a look at on the weekly perspective. So Tao, not bad. Like if we go from the weekly perspective, right? That level there, so that level there is significant. This is the lowest thing that it's sort of been since July 2024, and we're very close to it, right? We just touched that level here. So I will say that this is very correlated. Very correlated. This is definitely looking bearish, right? And Tiana, yeah, Dr. Tiana, sorry. Um, this is a very good example of what a bearish chart looks like. Do you see the difference between like this is the weekly? So now this is a bearish structure, definitely, right? So we need to shift to a bullish structure in order to start buying and getting that momentum. So buying this level here is sort of difficult in a way because obviously we can wiggle down all the way down to 163 at some point if we do have a this will be painful for Tau holders. Those painful moments, right, are the ones that we usually need to buy. So if we get to 160 something, I will be buying Tau because Tau still has a pretty good infrastructure from the fundamental perspective, but it hasn't been translated into price. There's not a lot of people, investing on this thing, as you can actually see. So I wouldn't touch it for the time being. What I will do is be playing two games here. So this is the daily. I'll be either playing the momentum trade or I'll be playing the holding trade. So if we get to the maximum point pain, which is 167, 170, give or take, I'll buy spot, right? But if we start gaining momentum, right, and then momentum shift will shift after this line here, the 300 level. So if we hold the 300, then we do have that momentum towards the upside. There's buying, there's interest. There's people that want to buy at this stage. So at this stage, it's like no one wants to buy this stuff, man. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of the thing that I'm seeing. But I'm pretty sure that if we get to the 167, there's going to be a lot of interest all of a sudden in this one. So yeah. TRX, yes, I like TRX. We're still holding GST, by the way. Yeah, GST is looking good, very good, right? Very correlated with TRX. That was the whole point of going on JST. But I like TRX. I like TRX long term. This could be a pretty interesting trade, right? So what I don't like is this, massive unwind that happened globally, last week. So that's why I don't like it. I might thinking closing JC to be honest. And I'm actually thinking of closing virtual. So virtual, still like above our entry. I might just move it and yeah. Uh, yeah, but if market decides to go to share, like if Bitcoin decides to go to 50,000 or even 80,000, I think everything is gonna wind down. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's it, guys. I don't know if you guys have any other questions, but I have, yeah, been thought I will wait. Well, depends. Depends. The only I, I haven't been that successful with the front runners, to be honest, front running the breakouts this year, but I was very successful in front running the year before. So it's one of those things with front running, you have to take into account the whole market condition. If you see that Bitcoin, Ethereum, everything's going nuts, or AI, right? Like let's load the spaghetti charts for real, for instance. So if I see momentum happening across the board, right? And I start seeing that AI starts sort of picking up, and I see momentum across Bitcoin, across Ethereum betas, all this sort of stuff. Then I will play the front running, right? Until then, I don't. You know what I mean? Until then, I'll just wait for the breakout, right? But as you can see, everything looks like shit. Like the only thing that's why this is why I'm interested in hype. So hype is sort of the only one that is actually outperforming sort of the S&P 500 is holding is sort of the biggest one, and BNB. Let me talk about BNB because BNB is also BNB and hype are the ones that I'm interested the most, right? Why? Because they have relative strength, and you know, if we have good conditions in the market, more than likely those ones that have relative strength, they're gonna appreciate in value. So BNB is looking okay, hype is looking okay. Besides that, yeah, I'm not looking at anything else until we have a little bit of market strength, man. So yeah, scalp. That's the only thing, man. If you want to play the scalping game, we're gonna have a lot of fun in the YN thing. That's gonna be fun, man. So, all right, XRP. Let's do the last one, and then I think that's it. Let's XRP, man. Fucking XRP stopped us out, right? So XRP, yeah, as you can see, pretty much all coins are at these lowest levels, right? But they very sort of weak in a way because on the breakout, right, we could definitely see XRP going down all the way down to 1 point. Let's have a look at the weekly. This could be that. And come on. Yep. This one, copy that one. This is kind of from the weekly perspective. Yeah, this level could be very interesting for new buyers, right? So think about it from the perspective, like always think who is interested in this market. Like if it's not interest on Bitcoin, there's not gonna be interest in a lot of alts. Maybe you're gonna have some outliers, right? In terms of market makers pumping stuff up. Like, you know, I don't know if you've seen one there's a lot of stuff. Dusk. Let me show you Dusk in Dusk. Um, they do something like this. They pump it up and dump, right? Now is another one that look at this thing, man. 100% up all the way down. So there's a lot of volatility right now, but no like momentum that you can ride and hold, right? So that's basically the psychology of, you know, risk assets, right? When if we don't see Bitcoin doing well, there's not a lot of people going into alts. As simple as that. Yeah, Todd, scalp baby. I think we should do a scalping only, man. I'm getting tired of this long term stuff, man. Doing my head in, man. Doing my head in. Mm. Oh, jelly jelly. No, I haven't been that successful trading jelly jelly. It's too volatile. So yeah, all the stuff, man. It's just market makers playing the volatility game in a way. But if you get on it, right, and get out at the right moment, then you could do well, man. So yeah, plenty of stuff to do. Depends on the strategy that you follow. But yeah, for me, that's it, guys.
That's
I think
awesome,
we
Maurizio. Thank you so much, man.
all right, guys. So I'll see you next week, and if you are in the YF10, I'll see you on Thursday. We're gonna have a lot of fun on Thursday. It's gonna be
Nice.
really fun, man.
Cheers, everyone.
All right,
Ta-da.
guys. Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye bye.